All right, guys, welcome to the Sailing Doodles podcast. Doing this one on my own, so that's a first. Basically, what I've done is I've asked a bunch of questions to our patrons, and I made a post on there. I said, just ask me anything, and about boating, about the show, about anything, basically. And so I haven't really read through a lot of the questions. I'm going to do that now and answer the questions there. So if you're just a viewer and a listener, thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to actually ask a question, you become a Patreon at patreon.com/sailingdoodles, and then I'm going to do one of these a month where it's an Ask Me Anything, and I will answer your questions the best I can. So I don't remember which camera I was looking at, but sorry about that if I messed that one up. All right, so I will start off with a question from Todd. Todd asks, will you do any flotillas in the future? Yes, planning on doing one. Well, we were supposed to do one. Oh, by the way, hang on a second. Cheers to you guys there. I don't know why they do it down here in Puerto Rico, but they have these, like, the beers are 10-ounce beers, right? And so they don't really fit in any koozies. It's kind of annoying. So your koozies don't work very well. I guess they do 10-ounce beers because, I don't know. I mean, maybe they don't get hot because it takes less time to drink them. I don't know, but whatever. It's the only place. Well, I mean, yeah, it's the only place I know of that does it consistently is down here. All the other Caribbean islands, when you come down here, they don't. I don't know. They don't do that. But anyway, oh well. So, all right. So back to the questions there. Todd asked, do you plan to do any flotillas in the future? Yes. Done a couple in the past so far. Did one in St. Vincent and one in Thailand. Was supposed to have one last year in the BVI, and then COVID came and screwed everything up. And then we moved it to this April. We moved it, last March or April, when we knew we weren't going to be able to do the COVID thing because of the BVI, or just because of COVID in general. We changed it. We just moved it a year. We figured by a year maybe this thing would be done, but I mean, apparently not. So basically, we're going to move it again to the fall. Once we have a better idea of what's going on, we might see if there's any boats opening up. The charter company I went through with that, I'm really not happy with them. We've chartered 6 boats with them now, plus the flotilla before where we chartered 2, and they just weren't very responsive. I'm like, I'm bringing you 6 boats worth of business. It's like $35,000-$40,000 worth of business, and they just aren't very responsive. Not very. I'm like, I was like, can we do something to work on the future? Can we, do something where it's a little beneficial for everybody? And they're just not interested. I would figure right now when they're hurting so bad, they would really want to do that. I'm not going to mention the name of the charter company. I mean, I'm sure if you watch the flotilla coming up, whenever we get to it this year, you can figure it out. But yeah, I mean, I'm still working, trying to find a better charter company. I mean, there are regional charter companies that I love to work with, like Island Spirit in Thailand. They have a couple different charter bases there. They're awesome. I mean, if I called them up and said right now, hey, I've got 6 boats, let's go, and they'd be like, absolutely, let's do it. They'd love to do it. But I mean, no, they're just in Thailand right now, and so I'd like to get a deal with one of the bigger charter companies that are worldwide. There's charter brokerages that I've worked with in the past. I don't really like working with them that much because they're kind of like a middleman. So like if we want to make a change, so they have the charter company, and then the charter brokerage can get a good deal, and we can do all that. But then if I want to make a change or something because of COVID or whatever, then I got to go through the middleman. Then so I email or call them, then they email or call the charter company, and it's just a hassle. So I'd rather work directly with a charter company. So there will be flotillas in the future. After we get this first one done, which hopefully in the fall, then we'll do another one the next year, or maybe do 1 or 2 a year. So we'll definitely do that. But all right, the next question is from Swede Pilot. Can you do a walkthrough of your purchasing timeline and how you did it, of this boat, I'm assuming? Anything was different than buying a sailboat versus a motor yacht? Some pitfalls to avoid next time. I think I started maybe emailing the broker as early as December, just kind of getting a feel for what the seller was doing, and I made a very low offer. Because it was all I could afford. The guy came back and said, no, no. And then a few weeks later, the broker actually emailed me and said, well, he did have it under contract, before, it was in this neighborhood of price, you could probably get it for that. So I offered a little bit more than that, or a little bit less than that, and the seller took it. And so the reason I was able to do that is because of all you guys helping out so much, because I had a little bit of money saved up, and then plus the selling of my boat, but it wasn't enough to buy this boat. But then with the pay-per-view video of the Naughty Dogs issue. So you haven't seen that, you can go to sailingdoodles.com. There's a link where you can watch it. You can pay as much as you want, $1, $5, $10. I mean, to all you guys that put in significantly more than that, I really appreciate it. And basically kind of helped do all this. So the timeline of it, I was emailed the guy in December. I think I got it under contract second week, maybe first week of January. Came down and did a sea trial on it, so basically I didn't want to waste airline fare and the time to come down here if we couldn't agree on a price in principle. So I hadn't even seen the boat in person. All the pictures and everything and all the maintenance records, I was able to see a lot of that from the listing on the website. And then, so I just made an offer, and my offer was contingent on the representation in the pictures and the description, right? So if I get down here and it's in a disarray, well, then if it's not like it was in the pictures, then I could change my mind and then get my money back. So what you do there is you put a 10% down payment when you get the boat under contract. So then I came down, did the sea trial. There was just minor stuff, and the seller was very accommodating on fixing some of the things. I mean, like the VHF antenna had a broken wire. The outdoor ice maker was not working, and he replaced that. Just small stuff like that. And so I was very happy with the way he handled things, and the sea trial came back good. There was only a couple issues. We had to get some like the engine. They needed to do engine oil sample because they just rebuilt the port side engine, and then so there wasn't enough time on the engine since they rebuilt it to get a proper analysis of the oil. So on a motor yacht, you definitely want to get an oil analysis, and the reason is that they'll check for water and all the different irons and stuff like that in the oil, and then that can tell you the general health of the engine. If it's got a lot of, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, I can't tell you, but if on the form where you do that, it'll say, okay, you've got high levels of this substance, this could mean this. So they put 10 hours on the engine and redid it, and then there you go. So and then so I can't remember what date I actually closed on it. It was towards the end of July, and I came down the day before just to make sure it was all good. And then the next day it was. So then we actually had to do one little more test on it because they had rebuilt the port side engine, but the governor was not tuned properly. So the governor it wasn't making proper RPM. So they had to have somebody work on the governor, and that's apparently a pretty technical thing to do. And so their normal mechanic didn't really know how to do it. So we had to find somebody else to take care of it. Anyway, they got it done, and so got the boat. As far as pitfalls, I didn't really have a problem with it. I think it worked pretty well. You definitely want to get a survey, which is basically a home inspection. You get an inspection. A survey is a boat inspection. And so you definitely want to do one of those. Preferably somebody knowledgeable, knows what they're doing, has experience with those yachts. Generally, if it's word of mouth, in my opinion, on how to find those guys. Now, the brokers know all these guys too, but do you necessarily want to take the broker's advice, whatever? So my friend Greta and Zach, who I just did another podcast with, it came out last week about boat finance. They spend a lot of time down in Puerto Rico. And so I said, hey, do you know any surveyors that are good? And they said yes, and he gave me the name of a guy, got him out here and did the survey, and I was pretty happy with the results, and worked out well. All right, so Jonathan asks, having gone sailboat to powerboat and back, would love to hear your feelings about the mind shift, Gestalt mind shift. Yeah, I honestly haven't been on the boat long enough to know. I mean, I don't really know what I mean, like, just initially, okay, this feels like a house that is a boat, whereas a sailboat is a boat that is also a house. You know what I mean? So this is kind of a house first, and then a boat, and then a sailboat is generally a boat first, and then a house. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to either one. So far it's a lot more comfortable. I will definitely say that. Much more comfortable, much more space. So my old CT56 was 56 plus the bowsprit, it was 62. And then if you really wanted to count it, you want to count the dinghy davits off the back, it was like 67 or 68. Depending which marina you're in, right? Whereas this is a Hatteras 52 with the extended cockpit, so it's 60 with the swim deck. So it's 58 feet. It's 52 feet of interior space. But the thing is that it's multi-level, and you can use the whole space all the way throughout because there's not rigging in the way, there's not a mast and all that. So it's just a lot more space for the boat. The systems are generally a little more complex because there's more of them. Especially, because it's back in the night, this is 97. It would have been a pretty expensive boat back then. And, so it just has a lot of high-end systems and stuff like that. But also on a good side is that a lot of the stuff is household, like the refrigerator and the convection oven and the cooktop are all like household variety stuff. So you don't, if you want to replace a refrigerator, I paid $900 for this new refrigerator, whereas like a new refrigerator on a sailboat, just the compressor, like just the bare bones compressor and condensation plate are $900. And then if you want to get, it's crazy. Boat stuff is definitely a markup. So I got to go back and forth on the boats just to see how I like it here. I haven't had enough experience on the motor yacht yet to say one way or because I've only been on the boat for a month, and most of the time's been in a marina working on it. I've done we did 5 days of sailing on it. So, and I don't know, what do you guys think? Leave me a comment down below. I still call it sailing or motoring. I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be like I'm gonna go sail to the BVI or whatever. So I don't know if that's I don't know what's the technical term on a motor yacht. So David asked, how much did the new boat cost and what other fees were involved? Thanks, and loving the dark side. I'm not gonna say how much it cost. I mean, I got it well below list price, but the other fees you got to consider is the survey. The survey was about, I think it was $800, and that's cheap down here in Puerto Rico. You want to get your boat worked on down here, I mean, it's super cheap down here. Then you got to pay for the haul out. The haul out, because the guy was a member of the yacht club, it was like $50. I mean, so whereas normally, like you go on the East Coast or somewhere like that, you're gonna pay $700, $800, $1,000 to haul out a boat this size. And so down here it was a lot cheaper. And then you got to get insurance, right? So insurance on this boat was about $4,200. I changed insurance companies. I'm pretty happy with these guys so far, and they're real nice. They said, hey, if you ever, because I have my area of coverage, and they say, if you're leaving, just let us know, so hopefully that'll work. So, and then of course, there's it always costs more than you think to get a boat ready to go. All the maintenance stuff or the upgrades you want to make cost more than you think, but I did a lot of upgrades on it. So, replaced some of the electronics and, replaced all the TVs, because all the TVs were from 1997, right? The square tube, like CRT tubes. And then I updated the stereo, a lot of the lighting. I'm replacing all the lights with LED lights, and I'm also adding solar panels maybe as early as this week. I think the guy's going to give me a quote this week, so hopefully do that. So there's a lot of stuff to do there. So how were you able to do the finances and Bill asks. And it seems like it all happened in a few days. Well, it wasn't in a few days. It was over 3 or 4 weeks, but I kind of, I mean, it's just, I had things, I was talking to people in the background. We hadn't gotten anything in stone yet. So, but then by the time I got it, I did have something in stone. It was pretty quick. How did the purchase of and upgrades did Patreon income deal with? Is vlogging really all that lucrative? Inquiring minds want to know. It really depends on your channel. You guys are awesome. The patrons, couldn't do it without you for sure. And I mean, it really depends on your channel, how many daily views you're getting and stuff like that. I mean, there's millionaire vloggers, right? So especially the guys that have been doing it a long time. I'd love to see some of their bank statements. But so I mean, yeah, it was probably a good amount came from. It was more from the pay-per-view video. So that was really kind of because I had enough maybe to so when I offered a really low price on this one in the beginning, it's because what I could afford, and then I was given the idea by Jeff and a few other people to do the pay-per-view video, and it did really well. And so I'm really happy, and thank you guys for being supportive and making that happen. Paul asks, Shelby Church has some very detailed info on how much a YouTuber earns. She earns, she has 1.64 million subscribers and a lot of good information. Yeah, I've seen some of those out there. I'd say it's hard for those to be real accurate because they don't know. They don't know your demographics, and they don't know how you're monetizing it and stuff like that. Because I mean, they don't know, they don't have all the information. They basically, all those things, it depends on your demographic, because the viewers of sailing channels, like 75% of the viewers for Sailing Doodles are 45 and 45 and older. So that's different than YouTube in general. Like the primary age group of people watching YouTube are like 15 to 30 or 35 or something like that. So it is pretty unique that the sailing channels have a much older audience. So I'm not familiar with her, but I can check her out and do it. Heather asks, have you had your new motor yacht, the Dark Side, in the open seas? How does it feel? Any seasickness, or does it feel much different than your Naughty Dog sailboat? Yeah, I have it, well, like open seas, no, but like 4 or 5 miles offshore, yes. I'd say it's definitely more stable than a sailboat. I was worried about that because, you don't have a mast and all that to, you're not heeled over into the wind, that's keeping you straight up. But no, this boat has stabilizers, which I'm assuming help really well, because we've been in we've been 5-6 foot seas so far, and no problem at all. It's a lot of spray when you're going into the waves, and I probably need to adjust the autopilot a little, but when in a following sea, it tends to not really want to hold a heading very well. But like side on it does. So, and into the waves, I don't know. But I mean, most boats have a problem. Most autopilots have a problem holding a heading in a following sea. It's just you go down the wave and you're surfing and it gets squirrely and all that. I have not had any seasickness. Amanda has twice. It was pretty rough out. I mean, it was anywhere from 3 to 7 foot seas, depending on where we were for the day. And there was a couple really big ones, bigger than that, when we were getting close to the channel. So I just don't get seasick. I've never been seasick. I mean, I don't know. Some people are just more prone to it than others, but yeah. So it does feel a lot different than Naughty Dog so far. I guess it's just the stability of kind of having two motors and just powering through the waves. You just don't heel over as much, and you don't rock and roll. And what you do have to find is, like, so the other day, like I said, I like to cruise this boat at 10 knots because that's the most fuel economical setting. But the other day, it really depends on the waves and what you're in. So the other day when I was motoring at 10 knots, I mean, we'd be going up a wave and then crash back down, and then an up a wave and crash back down, and that speed did not sync up well with the waves. So what I did is I increased it to 12 knots, and so we're going through a wave, and just as we're about to start going down, we kind of get the other wave, and so there's less, we weren't like going up and down and bang and all that. Yeah, we burned more fuel, but it was much more comfortable ride. So that's just something you gotta adjust for, so anyway. All right, so on to the next question. John, how do we travel with you, and how much would it cost for 4 to 7 days? Well, I think right now just doing the flotillas, when they can happen again. The flotillas generally are, 3 to 4 couples or cabins per boat, right? So you're paying for the cabin no matter if you're like 1 or 2 people. So far they've ranged from like $1,500 to maybe $2,000 per cabin, depending on how nice a boat you're on. And then of course, you got, so it's like, so just call it $2,000 for the week for a pretty nice boat. You got 3 or 4 couples on the boat, and then so you're sharing other expense. I mean, you got your airfare and stuff like that. So, and then you got your food and drink. So really, consider it's going to be probably $3,000 plus airfare, right? If you include all your food and all that stuff. So that's would be my guess, is if you're going to do the Flotilla for a week, and that's on a catamaran. I mean, if you want to go cheaper and you want to do like a monohull and share that with a couple other things, and that might only be $1,300 per cabin, and then maybe another $800 or $1,000 per couple for food and drink for the week. So you're looking at $2,300 for the week, $2,000, whatever you want to spend, and plus airfare. So that's what we're doing right now. But I mean, COVID, right? So who knows? Nick asked, will your new dinghy be the same as the one that was lost? Same manufacturer. It'll be hopefully here in 2 to 3 weeks. Going to pick it up in the U.S. Virgin Islands because they are a tax-free place. So like if I were to bring it to Puerto Rico, I'd have to pay like a 10% import tax or something like that. Whereas USVI is a tax-free zone, so for like duty-free. So I'll just get it there, and that it's only 40 miles away from here. So do that. It is actually a little bit different. So I had the Classic last time with a 30 horse, and it did have the console, and I had a 30 horse Tohatsu. This one is going to be the sport model, so a little bit different with the console, and it's going to have a 40 horse Yanmar. So I'm really excited about this. I mean, and it's going to have like the ski rack or the ski pole on it, so you can pull wakeboarders and stuff. So should get some really cool shots doing that. I'm really excited for it to get here, so it'll be nice. So JW asked, what is your upcoming motor cruise itinerary, and are there any differences from your sailing itineraries? Difference. Nothing. I would probably be doing the same thing. Well, if I was starting from here on a sailboat. So the USVI, here for another 12, 13 days. I think Taylor will be down here maybe as early as next week, and she'll stay with me for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And we'll go to Culebra, and then Culebrita, and then the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. John. At that point, maybe we'll go over to St. Martin if they're open. I doubt the BVI is going to be open. St. Martin might probably open up, I would think, maybe April 1st or something, because they only closed down a couple months ago, and with the vaccines and all that and the protocols. So, and then basically anywhere that they'll let us in with COVID. And then I'm not sure when Taylor will be going home or where from, but either the USVI or St. Martin or something like that. Amanda will be coming back, and then you may see a couple other returning crew members coming in pretty soon too. So, I don't have certain information on that yet, but I know there is 1 or 2 that have contacted me about wanting to come back. So, all right. So Titanium asks, other than the power and fuel costs, what will be the major differences for your cruising on the dark side versus Naughty Dogs? I mean, I think it's just going to be the power and the fuel cost. I don't really plan on making any big changes on how I've been cruising. You still got to wait for the right weather window. Maybe this boat gives me a little bit more freedom when it comes to the weather windows, because if motoring straight into 15 or 20 knots of wind and Naughty Dogs was doable, but it's slow. We're only doing 6 knots at that point. So normally under normal conditions on that boat, we'd be doing 7.5 knots on the motor, like if it's dead calm. But if you're going into the wind, you're going to lose at least a knot and a half, just beating into the waves, maybe more. And then you're in it longer, so it sucks. It's just like, if you're going to do a 40-mile run, I mean, it will take you all day. Whereas doing it on this, you're doing it in 5 hours. And so, you're more likely, okay, I can put up with, 4-foot seas for, beating into it. You know what I mean? I can put up with that for 4 or 5 hours, no problem. I wouldn't want to put up with it for like 8 hours. You know what I mean? So I think it will give me a little bit more flexibility on where and when to go, and because you can make better weather windows. If you have a smaller window, you can still get in it because you're going faster. So Sam and Sydney, how you doing, guys? What comes after the dark side? Will you go back to a monohull sailboat, catamaran, or stay in the smoke pot world? I honestly don't know. I really don't know. I think for now, I kind of plan on going back and forth between boats. So I'll be on this as much as I want to be. And then I'm still trying to work with a charter company where we get, where I can basically, and I've got a publicist that I hired. She did, I just pay her by she's not on salary. I just pay her per publicity thing she does. She's only done one so far, and it was on another podcast. So she got me on a podcast, the Create Unknown podcast, and it was pretty cool with those guys. They weren't super popular or something like that, but it really wasn't too expensive to do that. A couple $100 is what I paid her. So any exposure is good exposure. But I'll probably be hopping around a bunch of different charter boats, like sailboats, while I'm on this boat. And then honestly, I have no idea. I can have general plans. One thing I've learned so far in both YouTube and cruising is that you may have plans and you can forget those plans because they're not going to happen. You want to sail and do this, the weather changes, a boat has problems, or YouTube changes or whatever. I don't even try. I have an idea of stuff, but I don't know. So I really couldn't tell you. We'll see what happens. Mickey P asked, many of your past seasons featured your best friends Maverick and Goose. This is a tough one. Any thoughts of Goose or maybe the pups in future episodes? Not currently. Goose, I almost had to go home last month because he had pancreatitis. But basically, we took him into the vet every day for 4 days, and they put him on an IV and all that stuff. Or my parents did. I paid for it, but and then he got better. And then my mom just called me today and said he's not eating again, so she's going to take him to the vet today, and maybe we'll do a couple more rounds of that, see what's going on. So I may. If pancreatitis is, big dogs like that can be. Not good. So may have to deal with Goose here pretty soon. We'll see. But pups in the future, not anytime soon. I love having the dogs. If I get them, they'll be. I'm not getting 100-pound dogs again on a boat. That's ridiculous. But for right now, I like having them on the boat, and it's actually, that's no problem having them on the boat. The problem is if I'm cruising down here for 4 or 5 months, and then, because I'm a bit of a vagabond, right? And then what if I need to go? What if I go to Thailand for a month or two or something like that to go do some sailing or whatever? What do I do with the dogs? I don't want to pawn them off my parents. So for now, I don't know that I can. It would not be fair to have dogs right now. So I'd love to have them, but not at the moment. So we'll see what happens. Okay, Nick asks, Bobby, first, thanks for the great content. My first question, the America's Cup new boats, what are your thoughts on them? And then second question, as a cruising boat, would you prefer a mono or a cat? That's a good question, Nick. I like answering this one. So the America's Cup boats, the new AC-70s, very cool, but totally impractical. What do you need a foiling monohull for? They are a technical achievement. They're amazing. The technology in them and all that is pretty amazing. I think, I don't know. I don't, it's a nice spectacle to watch. They're very impractical. I guess all the America's Cups boats have been impractical, especially once they got to foiling and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't really like them that much. I just think they're too, I guess it does take a lot of skill, but I think they're making it too much about the technology of the boat rather than the prowess of the racers. Now, there is a lot of prowess and need for skill in the racers, don't get me wrong, because to be able to handle one of those boats and fly it, because you're really literally flying it. So that's what they call flying those boats. It takes a tremendous amount of skill, but it also takes a tremendous amount of money and technology. I'd rather see it more like a stock car type thing where everybody has the same, obviously they're not all technically the same, but they're more or less the same. They have certain restrictions on how big your motor can be, and they're using all the same motor or something. I don't even know what it is, but I'd like it to see just more like everybody on the same kind of boat. Maybe they don't even manufacture their own boat. The America's Cup makes the boats, and they say, okay, if you want to enter, you got to buy the boat from us, and they're all the same boat, and do that. That's what I'd like to see, something like that. Second question, as a cruising boat, would you prefer a mono or a cat? Depends on where you're going and what you're doing. If you're going to be in the Caribbean, monohull, I mean, a catamaran for sure. If you're going to be crossing oceans, a big monohull, you know. Although, I mean, the new cats these days are pretty nice, and especially if you plan your with the weather and stuff like that, you know, don't take any chances. Be smart with it. I mean, you're fine. I mean, there's people that have sailed big cats all over the world. I mean, if I was just going to buy one and do that, I'd probably go with a catamaran, something around 45, 47 feet. I would definitely, so on my Mediterranean videos when I was with Steve and Loretta, so they have a Fontaine Pajot 47. That's a great boat. You don't have to have a Fontaine Pajot, but I would definitely have the upper, I don't even know what you call it, but up there by the fly bridge, they have like a seating area and stuff like that, and you really only get that in the 45 and above cats. I don't really like I haven't seen the brand new Lagoon design for that, but the Fontaine Pajots, I really like it because they have a nice seating area up there. I really like that, and you use that a lot. And then, so I think some of the leopards and stuff have it up there too, but you really got to get 45 to 47 feet before you get that option on most cats. So I would do something around a 47 to 50 foot cat if money was not an option, but it kind of is an option because those are really expensive. All right, so Colin Merriman, the new boat seems like it has a lot more systems and complexity. Are you worried of extra work, or are you planning to outsource more? Seems like you're able to figure out most stuff on the boat, all but the AC, systems, generators, hydraulics, etc., and definitely more work than a sailboat. Yeah, there are definitely more complex systems on here for sure. And kind of the challenge of getting a new boat is learning all the systems. Like I'm still trying to figure out the water system because I thought I know where the shutoffs are for each tank, but I'm having problem pulling water out of the starboard tank. It's probably just a filter or something. I've got to go search from where it is. You know what I mean? It's in line somewhere or something. Maybe that filter is clogged up and I need to change it. I'm sure it is actually because there is no filter by the main pump. It's got to be somewhere down line. So I'm sure that's what it is. But it's just learning the systems mostly. As far as, yeah, I probably will be outsourcing more of the engine work. But basing in Puerto Rico, that's really cheap. If you're basing it in Florida or something like that, it's going to be very expensive for a boat like this to maintain the engines. But in Puerto Rico, it's a lot more cost effective because it's just the labor and stuff like that is much less expensive. And I'm planning on basing the boat out of here. I mean, I might take it back to Florida at some point, but I'll just keep an eye on the engines and stuff like that. I mean, adding oil when I need to, but like as far as farming out like the big service maintenance and all that, yeah, I'll probably be doing that because I'm just not an engine guy. And then like I'm having solar panels installed on this. I mean, I haven't got a quote for yet. If he's stupid crazy, maybe I will do it eventually myself, but then I'll take the boat back to Florida because then I can get all the gear I need there, but we'll see. We'll see how much he's going to charge. So I'll be doing some of it outsourcing, but it's hard to say. Richard asks, hi Bobby, love all the content, can't wait to see more of the new boat. You always have amazingly beautiful women on your vessel. I'm sure you do not charge them for passage on the boat compared to paying clients. No, I obviously do not charge them at all. In fact, I pay all of their expenses and then a little more. And so, because basically I'm making a profit from the videos. They are part of the crew in the videos, so I do financially compensate them for that. So, it's just, I think that's only fair. I mean, if I'm earning money off of it, they should too. So I do have them sign a release and we kind of have a little contract and stuff like that. So there is that. All right, Brad. Hi, Bobby. Great content. The ladies are nice to look at, too. In 1999, I purchased a 65 1995 Azimut. That's nice. There's one next door that's been sitting there forever. It's a hurricane boat, I believe. The biggest cost, aside from fuel... Hang on. I've been talking a lot. I need the fluids, right? The biggest cost, aside from fuel, was the care and upkeep, although slip fees weren't too cheap. $3,000 a month or so. Wow, that's a lot. I was able to do some of the work myself. Much of the mechanical I had to pay qualified mechanics to do. There are a lot of systems on these vessels and it seems something is always breaking. Yep. I'm curious as what you're budgeting for these expenses on a monthly basis. Well, here in Puerto Rico, the slips are around $1,300 a month. And that's, but I'm not planning, and actually there's ones that are cheaper than that. You go down to Ponce. You got to join the yacht club, which is a couple $1,000, but once you join the yacht club, it's like $400 a month to keep your boat there, so it's definitely worth it. So that's what I mean. Like, keeping your boat in Puerto Rico is way less expensive than anywhere on the mainland of the U.S. And also, it's here in the Caribbean. I mean, you don't have to beat to windward to get down here all the way. You're already here. You can go cruise around the Caribbean. So kind of my general plan for the moment would be maybe haul out around August 1st and keep it here on the hard and Puerto del Rey, and then put it back in the water November 1st. So it's only in the water for what? August, September, October, so 3 months. If a hurricane comes outside of those times, I'll just run from it. But so I plan to go down to the Caribbean and then probably come back to Puerto Rico around July 1st, or maybe the U.S. Virgin Islands around July 1st, be back here in Puerto del Rey by August 1st, which is really when the hurricane season technically starts, depending on who you talk to, either June 1st or July 1st. But, August 1st is when you start getting a lot more higher risk of it. So by August 1st, I'll be hauled out and, for 3 months. And then I can put it back in the water November 1st, and I'm good to go to the Caribbean, wherever I want to go. So that's kind of the plan for that. And then, so I'll do as much of the maintenance as I can. But again, like I said, the maintenance down here in Puerto Rico is a lot less expensive. So it is nice. You can have somebody take care of your boat for, I don't know what, I really don't know what they charge. But there's like guys that'll manage 4 or 5 boats, and I don't know what they're charging. Maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just making this number up. Maybe it's $500 or $1,000 a month, and so they manage those other boats. They wash them once a month or whatever, So I don't know. I don't have anybody doing that. I wash my own boat. I've already washed this boat like 4 times. So every time we, because there is so much spray when you're going, every time we get somewhere, I just start hosing it down and wipe it down. So I'm interested in what you think of your stabilizers. So Mark asked, I'm interested in what you think of your stabilizer system on your boat and contrast to the gyro system like a Seakeeper. Well, I'm familiar with, so the stabilizer system on my boat has 2 fins that are below the waterline, obviously. Hang on one second. And so the system, they're hydraulically actuated. And so if you start, heeling to starboard, the starboard fin will tilt up so it catches the water, which will push the boat back up, whereas the port fin goes down, which pulls the other port side down. And it basically uses, it's kind of like a wing in the water that pushes either side of the boat up. Whereas the Seakeepers, basically, I've heard they're amazing, by the way. I've heard the Seakeepers are amazing. I've never experienced one, so I couldn't tell you. But the Seakeepers have these giant spinning gyros, right? And so it's huge, spinning very fast and very heavy. So like if you ever held a bicycle tire that's separate from itself and you spin it, it resists turning. Like if you try to tilt it one way, it'll resist you doing that, and you can actually feel the force back on the other way. So like a gyro tends to want to stay in the position it is. So like if you're and then you hook that up to the boat, it makes the boat want to do that. I heard those are amazing, but I heard they're also extremely expensive. I don't know how much like the stabilizers I have cost because it came with the boat, but I've also heard that those systems are really big too, and it's like you can't like retrofit a boat and put like a I'm sure you can retrofit a boat and put a Seakeeper in it, but it would be extremely expensive. So most of the new boats though have them like built in, especially almost all of them do. Anything over like, I think they're even putting them in the center consoles now, like the 25 and 30 footers. I'm not sure. I'm not too knowledgeable on that, but so I couldn't really say yes or no on that. But all right, Clay asked, Flying Doodles Island style in the future. I would love to do some Flying Doodles. I just don't have time. I would honestly like to maybe farm that out to somebody, but somebody's got to have both the YouTube skills and the pilot experience to do all that. So I mean, if I could find somebody that could do both of those, and basically I still own the channel, they get a percentage for creating the content, because it's already got 75,000 subscribers. So, and it's already started up. I just don't have time to film it, and it's a lot of work to film one of those and to edit one of those. And that's the thing too, is that like you can't really hire an editor to edit that because he doesn't know what's important about because when I'm filming a Flying Doodles episode, so if you haven't checked out Flying Doodles on YouTube, go ahead. Flying Doodles is same. You'll find it. We got like 80 or 100 videos up or something like that. But so there's the interview portion, which the interview lasts 15 minutes. I cut it down to about 8 minutes, and then I got 2 cameras going, so they're cutting back and forth. Well, an editor wouldn't know what's important in that 15 minutes, right? Because he's not a pilot, and he doesn't really know what to cut in and cut out. And then the flying portion takes anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and I've got 6 cameras going on that, plus an audio recorder. And so editing all that is a lot of work, and you can't really farm that out to an editor because, again, he doesn't know what's important and what's not important. So it's very time-consuming endeavor, and I just don't have time for it right now. I mean, Sailing Doodles is my primary work, and I really enjoy doing the podcast because these are easy. Like, I've got my little system set up here where, see, I've got this little control panel right here. So I hit a button, that button, I change screen like that. I can go to the other one, and then I've got the record and stop. So and then I've got everything hooked up. So I don't edit this video when we're done. I do add like a couple graphics, but after this is done, it takes me 15 minutes of editing, and then I'm done. I upload it, and boom, we're good to go. So I really like how easy this is. But we'll see what happens in the future. All right, so hang on, let me finish this beer. I think it's almost done. See, you can pull the beer right out of your. See, it's not a Yeti. It's one of those Ozark Trail from Walmart, but it's like these are like $6, whereas the Yetis are like 25 or 30. But it really doesn't do much because it's a 10-ounce beer. I don't know. All right, so there we go. Let's put that one away, and we'll crack another beer. Oops, sorry. Was that a little loud in the microphone? All right. Richard asks, who will be your next partner? So Amanda is coming back. So is Taylor's going to come back for 2 or 3 weeks. Really excited to have her back. Sorry. Who's calling me? Brett, stop. Oh, my gosh. Why are you on? Thank you. Anyway, sorry about that, Brett. Your fellow patron Brett was I think he's out to lunch with my parents right now back in Dallas, so or maybe he's done with that. So next partner, and then I've been talking to. She wants to come back. Sydney wants to come back. She helped me do the delivery a while ago, and so far that's who I'm talking to. So we'll see. All right, same Richard asks, I remember, how do I watch the new episodes on your TV? Well, it's not really a podcast question, but you can on the YouTube app if you're watching it, as long as you're on the same network as your smart TV. There's like a little button that's kind of like a cast button. It looks like a TV with a Wi-Fi in it, and you click that and you can send it to your TV if it has a YouTube app. So there you go. Sean Murray, you said you had the most economical or efficient speed at 10 knots, and the engines would consume 14 gallons an hour at that speed. So 10 knots, 10 nautical miles at 14 gallons is 0.714 nautical miles per gallon. Am I calculating that right? I have no idea if you're calculating that right. I'm not going to pull up my calculator right now, but sounds reasonable. You let me know in the comments, guys. And if you didn't have the money to fix Naughty Dogs, how did you afford the dark side and the fuel, and the boat is bigger than your first apartment? Yeah. Well, it's like I said, it was the pay-per-view video that did it. I had enough from selling Naughty Dogs. That helped obviously a lot, and then savings and stuff. So and then the pay-per-view. So yeah. And then okay, spammers. Sorry, my phone way over there. Okay, I get so many spam calls. It's ridiculous, and I'm getting spam texts now too. Like, I'll get a text. There'll be like 20 other people in the text, and it'll be just gibberish in the text. I know what they want you to do. They want you to text back like stop or something like that. Then they know it's a real number. So if you get like a group text from like 20 people and they're all phone numbers you don't know, especially if they're all like the same area code, the same zip code and prefix and all that, just delete it. If you respond, you're on their list, and it's even worse because replying no or stop, I mean, they're doing it illegal anyway, so they're not going to care. Adrian asks, do you get bored at night, especially when traveling on your own? There's a limit to how many films and TV programs you can watch. Sometimes, it's not too bad. Honestly, I mean, especially if I've got the crew with me and stuff like that. I mean, okay, in a marina, yeah, I get a little bored because, like, there's, we're not going out and adventuring all day, right? If we're on the hook somewhere, we're going to go scuba diving, we're going to go snorkeling, we're going to go take the dinghy out, we're going to go some wakeboarding, and I got some new kiteboarding type stuff I'm looking forward to doing. So you stay busy with that all day, and then by the time you get back to the boat and you do some happy hour and dinner and all that, it's like 8 o'clock at night, and 9 o'clock is cruisers midnight. You know, you generally go to bed pretty early on a boat, and so it's not too bad. In a marina, yeah, it can get pretty boring. But, I mean, this is a really comfortable boat. It's got a really comfortable couch and, TV. And then, of course, I got the outside salon. I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do is I'll turn on the TV out there or just watch the sunset out there, smoke a cigar, have a cocktail or something. I really enjoy that. You can occasionally get bored, but there's always something to do on the boat and work on the boat. So, like, I was pretty lazy yesterday, didn't do much, but like today I've been working on the boat all day, and then when I finished working on the boat, which I'm not actually finished, so I'm replacing the anchor with the new Mantis anchor, and I could not get the shackle off of the old one because it's so rusted. So, I just kind of gave up on that. I got to go get like maybe a torch tomorrow and a breaker bar to get that off. We'll see. Hopefully I don't have to like try to cut it off, but we'll see. And then I had to go to work I love doing this, but then I said, okay, it's time to record the podcast. So, and then I had a little bit of editing to do on another podcast that just put out, not too long ago. So there's always some work to do on either the boat or on the channel, or go have fun and explore, So, let's see here. Gary asked, the Sailing Doodles Navy wants a password, to provide in the patron email. I need to make up another post on that, and I will do it. So we do have a private Facebook group for patrons, and there's a password for it, and I will post that on to our patrons. All right, Jeffrey asks, Bobby, I have a few questions about the damage caused to all your previous boats. Since you have been a viewer the last 2+ years of the because of the lockdown last year, I gorged on Sailing Doodles. On the rough seas, how extensive was the damage, and the storm insurance wouldn't cover it, and what happened to the boat in the end? Well, I didn't have insurance on that boat. I paid $24,000 for it, and it had about $20,000 in damage, probably, and I just didn't have time to work on it, and I ended up basically giving it away to a guy down here who did the repairs. So it's still down in Puerto Rico, and the guy's repaired the fiberglass damage, and I think he's working on the rigging now, and he should be good to go. On Naughty Dogs, what was the damage and how extensive was it? And you said it was $100,000 in damages, but what was the damage specifically, and how much would it cost to repair? I know you said the gearbox engine was trashed, etc. Well, it's all in the video, the pay-per-view, but if you want to watch it, but basically, it was mostly the fire damage from the transmission overheating. Yeah, I mean, if it's just replacing the transmission, that would have been not expensive, but the transmission got so hot that it burned up all the electrical and the wiring and the water lines, and then it also torqued the shaft, which let in a lot of water into the engine compartment, which then submerged the batteries, submerged the generator, submerged the inverter charger, submerged the engine. I mean, so all that stuff needs to be pulled out, cleaned up, replaced, and so you start adding all that up, and it was 60% of that estimate I got was labor. And yeah, I know you can do it yourself, but I mean, I had no desire to do it. I really didn't. So there you go. Let me have another sip here. All right. Bill asks, yeah, I have a substantial amount toward the rebuild of Naughty Dog. It was initially his what is that? Continue support. Okay, well, sorry. Okay, Jeff asks, same as above on the Naughty Dogs, why on earth would the insurance that I assume you paid over the odds in the first place not want to pay out for the damages? Because they don't want to pay. I mean, it's... I was talking to somebody the other day, and basically they said that they were talking to someone who they had a claim on their boat, and I forget what their cruising area was, but they tracked them on AIS, and so where their incident happened, they were inside their territorial waters, but they tracked them on AIS, and they had previously gone to Cuba, like within that policy year, and so on AIS, you can see that they went there, And so they denied the claim, saying you violated the terms of your conditions on the policy because you left your cruising waters. And the people were like, yeah, we knew we were going outside the cruising waters, but we knew we wouldn't be covered there, but whatever, we're covered, we're in the water anyway. So they denied their claim. It's insurance. I mean, it's dumb. They'll try to, the insurance companies have been killed lately with the hurricanes and all that, and so they're being really stingy on paying out. I mean, because they've had their bottom line has sucked for a long time. So I don't know. I don't like talking about it. It's a pain in the ass. But Jeff again, man, he's got a lot of questions here. On the new boat, very interested how long you can afford to put diesel in it and your tanks. I was going to ask what the cost, but you said the 600 odd gallons was $15.43. You were not going to be able to afford this boat for long, and I assume that wasn't the fuel tanks filled up as well. Must be bloody expensive diesel. I was pretty cheap down here. It was actually $2.50 a gallon. And I guess that was the next question. What was the cost of gallons of diesel? $2.50 a gallon. But yeah, okay, it was $1,500 to fill up. But I'll fill up in Puerto Rico again before I leave, but I'll put less than half of that into it just because it's cheaper here than in the islands. I want to make sure I'm fully topped off before I leave Puerto Rico. But I mean, like, I'll only have to put gas in this thing or diesel in this thing every 2 to 3 months, because you think about it, like, I'm going to Culebra. That's 25 miles. That'll be 30 something gallons of fuel, right? And I'll be there for 5 or 6 days. Then I'll go to the Virgin Islands, which is like 10 miles away, and then I'll be there for a couple weeks. And I'll have used in a month like maybe 200 gallons, maybe. You know what I mean? And then I'll move to St. Martin or the BVI or whatever's open. And so, like, they're all short hops. I mean, yeah, if I was going from Puerto Rico to the Bahamas, okay, it's going to be a lot of money because it's a long way. But your average hop when you're down here in the Bahamas or not the Bahamas, but the Caribbean's like 20 to, a long one would be 70 miles, right? So, I mean, you don't use as much as you think. Sure, if you're going to do a long haul passage, that is very expensive. But, it's not as bad as you think. I should only have to put fuel in this thing every 2 to 3 months. So $1,500 every 2 to 3 months is not that bad, really. I mean, it's really not. So, it depends on how much you want to spend, All right, man, he's got a lot of questions here. Back to the Damaged and Naughty Dogs, given what was said about over 100,000, interested in knowing, you previously thought about your patrons and fundraising and doing a Kickstarter to raise funds for Naughty Dogs. I raised this because a fellow channel sailing project, Atticus, had terminal termite damage to their main bulwark, which holds their masts up, and they couldn't afford the repairs and their boat. So they did a Kickstarter and asked their patrons, but were able to raise like $92,000 with 810 backers. Just wondering, why did you go down this route? I didn't want to do like a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe. Like, I didn't want to be like, hey, we pay for my stuff. I just didn't want to do that. That's why I did the pay-per-view and left it open to however much you wanted to do. Because if you thought it was worth it to watch the video, great, awesome, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Could not be doing this without you, but I didn't want, at least you're getting something for your value, and I didn't want to do a GoFundMe type thing. I felt it would have been, I don't know. It's fine for them. That's totally great for them. I'm happy they're doing it. And I'm not saying I'm negative towards that. I'm not. I think, creating a YouTube channel and creating content like this, a lot of the naysayers, and they're like, they call the sailing channel people like e-beggars and stuff like that. They don't realize that I've got these cameras right here. I've got $7,000 in these cameras. I've got this microphone. I've got the computer. I got all these other stuff here. I've got drones. I've got all these GoPros. I've got $20-something thousand in camera gear on this boat, maybe more. And then, I'm spending, this is my full-time job doing YouTube. It can easily be a 30, 40 hour or more a week job. So it is a job. And so, like, for the people that really enjoy, okay, I'm creating, on average, I try to do a video every 5 days. So I'm doing, each video is about 12, 15 minutes, just call it 15 for math's sake. So I'm doing 6 videos. So we're doing like, 90 minutes of content. So it's a movie every month that I'm putting out, basically. And, how much do you pay for a movie? $12-15 plus popcorn. You're at $20 for a movie. I mean, is that worth entertainment to you? Okay, great. But it's still free if you don't want to do that. So I mean, this is a full-time job, and the people that do this they're not freeloading. I mean, they are actually working quite hard to make the best content they can to get as popular as they can, because it is a really cool job. This is a job, but it is a really cool job, and it has given me so much opportunity, and you patrons and everything for watching and helping, and I mean, I couldn't do without you. You guys are awesome, and I hope it's inspiring to some people. I hope you guys watch this and you're dreaming about doing it one day, and you actually will go out and do this on your own. So, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, whenever somebody sends me an email or something that says, hey, I've been watching your stuff, you really inspired us, we just bought our boat and we're leaving in 2 months, I'm like, awesome. I mean, that feels really good to do, that people are actually doing that. So there you go, guys. All right, William, hang on a second, more beer, 1 second. William asks, how do operating costs on the dark side compare to operating costs on the Naughty Dogs? So far, I mean, yeah, it's more in fuel. But I mean, I've only owned the boat for a month, so I've done a lot of upgrades on it. But I did a lot of upgrades on Naughty Dogs too, that were probably easily as costly. So I don't know, really. Honestly, talk to me in about 6 months. We'll see how much stuff's broken and how much expensive it's gotten. So far, I mean, it's just the extra fuel cost. But honestly, so I bought the boat in Ponce, and then we did Isla Mujeres, Isla Caja de Muertos, and then Salinas and all that, whatever. Because we're going into the trade winds, and it's a really windy time of year, there was no time I was going to be able to sail getting here to Fajardo. There was no sailing weather unless you wanted to tack and beat into it, which would have been miserable and all that. So I would have motored all the way from Ponce to here, granted at 2 gallons an hour versus 14 or 15. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously more expensive in fuel on there, but it's hard to say. I mean, maintenance wise and all that, it really depends on how much crap breaks, you know what I mean? So too early to say on that one, but I mean, I'm going to keep you guys informed as I'm going along. So all right, WVU, West Virginia University Soldier, maybe? WVU, I don't know. Are you dating Amanda? No, I am not dating Amanda. So what are your crew plans after Amanda goes back? Oh, so that's Alfred, sorry. What are your crew plans after Amanda goes back to New York? Taylor's coming back, I hope, next week. She's got to take care of her own boat stuff a little bit this week, and hopefully she gets that all taken care of, and she might come as early as next weekend. And then today is the 1st, so I'm planning to leave here on the 12th to go to Culebra if all goes well. So there's that. And I kind of talked about it earlier. So Amanda will be coming back at some point this month. She had to go work on her business, and then maybe Sydney will be coming back, and then after that, I don't really know. So we'll see. But okay, that is all the questions from the patrons. That was a lot of them. It was 36 questions. Hopefully answered them to the best of my ability there for you guys, and you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out the Doodles podcast, Sailing Doodles. If you're listening, check out the videos on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, there's the audio version. So if you don't want to have to sit there and watch this thing, listen to your car, it's on Spotify, it's on iHeartRadio, it's on iTunes, whatever you want to do. And it's, again, our patrons that make this channel possible. Thank you so much. Patreon.com. That's patreon.com/sailingdoodles. And you can ask questions. So I'm going to be doing one of these a month. Probably towards the end of March, I will make another post asking for patron questions. And you just reply to that post with your comments, and there you go. I will answer them. I answered every single one of them there. I hope everybody got the information they wanted. So, man, this thing was an hour. I hope you guys are liking these long form podcasts too. I'm trying to do them just a little more conversationally than topically, instead of the first one. So hope you're enjoying it. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I will use my little pad right here to turn off.